Your bank account is screaming at you right now. The bills are stacking up faster than the money comes in. The opportunities you thought were guaranteed fell through at the last second. The financial breakthrough everyone promised you is nowhere in sight. And while everyone around you seems to be thriving, climbing, building empires on social media, you're sitting there wondering what you did wrong to deserve this level of struggle. But here's what's about to shatter everything you thought you knew. Your financial failure was not an accident. It was an assignment. It was strategic. It was divinely orchestrated to destroy something in you that money would have only made worse. I know that sounds impossible right now. I know it feels like betrayal when you've been faithful, when you've done everything right, when you've prayed and believed and worked yourself to exhaustion. But stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will flip your entire understanding of why heaven sometimes blocks your money to unlock your destiny. Here's the truth that the ancient masters understood, but modern teachings have completely abandoned. Before the divine can trust you with wealth, it must first kill your worship of it. You're not being denied provision. You're being delivered from a God you didn't even know you were serving. And that God is called financial security. That God is called material success. That God is called the approval that comes when your bank account finally matches your prayers. The sacred writings are filled with stories of people who had to lose everything financially before they could gain everything spiritually. Not because heaven is cruel, but because their identity had become so tangled with their income that the only way to free them was to remove the very thing they thought defined them. You are in that process right now, and I know it feels like death, because it is death. It's the death of the version of you that believed your value goes up when your net worth does. Let me show you what's really happening beneath the surface of this financial devastation. You think you're failing. Heaven knows you're being prepared for a level of abundance that would destroy you if it arrived before this lesson was learned. You see lack. The divine sees liberation from the invisible chains that were going to keep you small, even if you got rich. You feel punished. You're actually being protected from becoming the kind of person who gains the whole world but loses their soul in the transaction. Here's what nobody tells you about financial struggle when you're called to something bigger than just making money. Sometimes the greatest gift heaven can give you is the experience of having nothing so you can discover that you are not nothing. That job that didn't pan out was going to give you a paycheck and take your purpose. That business opportunity that collapsed was going to make you successful and simultaneously make you compromise everything you came here to stand for. That financial breakthrough you've been begging for would have arrived with strings attached that would have turned you into a slave with a bigger cage. So heaven said no. Not to hurt you, not to punish you, but to save you from a version of wealth that would have corrupted the assignment you don't even fully understand yet. Now let me take you deeper into what the old masters knew about money and spiritual authority. There's a principle in the sacred texts that modern prosperity teaching has completely twisted, the principle of divine ownership versus human stewardship. You were never supposed to own anything. You were always supposed to steward everything. And there's a massive difference between those two postures. Ownership says, this is mine, and my worth is tied to having it. Stewardship says, this is entrusted to me, and my worth is independent of whether I have it or not. Heaven cannot give ownership-level wealth to someone with a stewardship-level calling. The math doesn't work. The character can't sustain it. So what does the divine do? It strips you of everything you thought you owned until you finally understand that you never owned any of it in the first place. Your financial failure is not evidence that you're unqualified for blessing. It's evidence that you're being requalified for a completely different kind of abundance. The kind that doesn't own you even as you steward it. The kind that flows through you instead of stopping at you. The kind that makes you dangerous to the systems that use money to control people. You're being trained in detachment while everyone around you is being trained in accumulation. And detachment is the most powerful financial position you can possibly hold. Because when you don't need it, you can't be bought. When you don't worship it, you can't be manipulated by it. When you don't fear losing it, You can't be controlled through the threat of poverty. That's what this season is building in you. But here's where it gets even more revealing. Your financial struggle is not random. It's designed. And it's specifically targeting the areas where you've been trying to find security outside of your spiritual authority. Let me explain. Every chosen one has a gift, a calling, a supernatural ability that was embedded in them before they were born. But most chosen ones spend the first half of their lives trying to monetize everything except that gift. They chase careers that make sense. They build businesses that are practical. They pursue opportunities that other people validate. And heaven watches and waits, and then systematically dismantles every financial stream that is not connected to your true assignment. Not because the divine is cruel, but because you will never step into your full authority as long as you have a backup plan that doesn't require your gift. Your financial failure is heaven cutting off the exits. It's the universe removing every safe option so that the only path forward is the one that requires you to finally use what you were actually sent here to carry. And I know that's terrifying, because your gift doesn't look like a business plan. Your calling doesn't come with a salary. Your assignment doesn't make sense to the people whose approval you've been chasing. But that's the point. You were never supposed to make sense to them. You were supposed to make history. If you're feeling this truth rearrange something inside your chest right now, I need you to do something. Comment below and write, I'm stepping into my authority. Not for me, not for anyone watching, for you. Because when you declare it out loud, you shift from victim of your circumstances to co-creator with the divine. Do it now. Let me reveal the 4 stages of financial initiation that every chosen one must pass through before they can handle kingdom-level wealth. Stage 1. The stripping. This is where you are right now. Everything you thought would work stops working. Every door you thought would open stays locked. Every source of income you depended on dries up. This is not punishment. This is purification. You're being emptied of the belief that your provision comes from your effort instead of your alignment. Stage 2. The wilderness. This is the season after the stripping where you have nothing but your gift and your faith, no backup plan, no safety net, no logical way forward. This is where you learn to hear the voice of the divine above every other voice. This is where you discover that manna still falls for those who are on assignment. This is where your identity shifts from employee to emissary. Stage 3. The testing. Just when you think you've learned the lesson, an opportunity appears. It looks good, it pays well, it makes total sense to everyone around you, but it's not your assignment. It's a test to see if you've really died to the need for financial security that comes at the cost of spiritual authority. Most people fail this test. They take the opportunity, they get the money, and they lose the mantle. Stage 4. The release. This is when heaven opens the floodgates, but not before. Not until you've proven that you can walk away from money that would compromise you. Not until you've demonstrated that you value the assignment more than the income. And when the wealth finally comes at this stage, it comes with a completely different energy. It doesn't own you. It doesn't define you. It doesn't control you. It serves you. And through you, it serves the assignment. And through the assignment, it serves the people who were always supposed to benefit from your obedience. That's the progression. And you cannot skip stages. You cannot rush the process. You cannot negotiate with heaven about which lessons you're willing to learn. Now here's the part that's going to make you angry before it sets you free. There are forces that do not want you to complete this initiation. There are systems, structures, and principalities that benefit from keeping you financially desperate enough to compromise, but never abundant enough to be free. They want you stuck in survival mode, because survival mode keeps you focused on making money instead of making impact. They want you addicted to the paycheck, because the paycheck keeps you obedient to structures that were never designed to honor your calling. They want you measuring your worth by your income, because as long as you do that, you'll never step into the kind of spiritual authority that threatens their control. Your financial failure is an attack, but not from heaven, from the very systems that know what you become when you're no longer enslaved to money. And heaven is using their attack against them, taking what was meant to break you and turning it into the very thing that makes you unbreakable. Every closed door is closing off an avenue of compromise. Every financial loss is a liberation from a source of provision that came with chains you couldn't see. You think you're losing, you're being set free, and freedom always looks like loss until you're on the other side of it. But before you go, chosen one, I need to tell you what I see in the realm of the spirit right now. I see vaults opening that have had your name on them since before you were born. I see wealth that is not tied to your labor, but to your obedience. I see resources being redirected from people who were supposed to fund you but got distracted. I see those resources finding their way back to you through paths you never planned and didn't see coming. I see you walking into rooms where everyone has a degree and you have an anointing. And I see the anointing winning. I see your gift making room for you in places your resume could never access. I see your calling opening doors that your credentials could never unlock. But here's what I also see. None of this happens if you abort the process by running back to financial safety before the lesson is complete. The breakthrough is close, closer than you think, but it requires you to stay faithful in the famine. Now listen carefully. The next video I'm releasing is going to expose the 3 lies about money that keep chosen ones in poverty even when they're surrounded by opportunity. If you miss that video, you'll keep repeating the same financial cycles under different circumstances. So here's what you need to do right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. This is not about growing a channel. This is about you getting the full revelation you need to break out of this pattern. Do it now before you forget. Let me give you a framework for navigating this season without losing your mind or your faith. First, separate your identity from your income. Start every morning by declaring who you are independent of what you have. You are chosen. You are called. You are equipped. You are on assignment. None of that changes when your bank account does. Anchor yourself in that truth. Second, audit every financial decision through the lens of alignment instead of logic. Stop asking, will this make money? And start asking, will this move me closer to my assignment or further from it? The right opportunity will always be aligned even when it doesn't make immediate financial sense. The wrong opportunity will always be logical but misaligned. Third, practice radical generosity even in lack. This sounds insane, but it's one of the most powerful ways to break the spirit of poverty off your life. When you give from nothing, you declare that your source is not your bank account. You don't have to give big. You just have to give consistently, and watch how the energy around your finances begins to shift. Fourth, document every supernatural provision. When money shows up from nowhere, write it down. When a bill gets paid and you don't know how, document it. When favor appears that makes no logical sense, record it. You're building a testimony that will fuel your faith when the next test comes. And it will come. Fifth, guard your conversations about money. Stop agreeing with people who want to complain about lack. Stop participating in conversations that normalize financial struggle as if it's a permanent state. You're in a process, not a prison. Talk like you know the difference. And if this framework is landing in your spirit, if you're ready to apply these principles, show me by commenting below. I choose alignment over income. Let that be your declaration. Let that be the line you draw in the sand that says you're done being controlled by money. So here's what I need you to understand as we close this sacred moment. Your financial failure is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your authority. Every dollar you didn't get was a door to compromise you didn't walk through. Every opportunity that fell apart was a trap you didn't fall into. Every loss you experienced was preparation for a gain you're not ready to steward yet. And right now, in this season that feels like you're being buried, you're actually being planted. And what's about to grow from this place of death is going to feed nations. The sacred texts promise that those who sow in tears will reap in joy, that those who go out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with them. You're in the weeping part, the sowing part, the part where nothing makes sense and everything hurts, and you can't see how any of this is going to turn into harvest. But the promise stands, the harvest is coming, and it's going to be so abundant that you'll forget you ever questioned whether heaven knew what it was doing. So stop measuring your worth by your wallet. Stop defining your success by your bank balance. Stop believing the lie that you're failing just because you're struggling. You're not failing, you're being forged. And what's being formed in you right now is worth more than any amount of money you could have made by compromising. The wealth is coming. But the character has to come first. The abundance is on its way. But the identity shift has to happen before it arrives. The overflow is guaranteed. But only for those who survive the emptying without losing their minds. You are surviving, you are enduring, you are being refined. And when you come out of this fire, you're going to be holding a kind of wealth that doesn't fluctuate with the economy, a kind of abundance that doesn't depend on circumstances, a kind of provision that flows from the realm of the spirit instead of the sweat of your labor. That's what's being prepared for you. That's what this financial failure is actually leading you toward. Now walk like you believe it. Talk like you know it. Live like you're being prepared for wealth that comes with a completely different operating system than the one that broke you, because you are.